ParentalRights.us.
Hey, I'm Adam Carolla.
I'm Dr. Drew.
And we are here to ask you to do us a little favor. If you like what you hear, share it with a friend.
Nice. Keep the pirate ship afloat, right?
Yeah, well, that's the only advertising we got. But it's the best kind.
It is.
Word of mouth.
It is.
Whose mouth?
Yours. Not yours, theirs.
Theirs,
yes.
That's right. Thank you in advance for telling a friend, and enjoy the show.
This is Corolla Digital. Recorded live at Corolla One Studios with Adam Carolla and board-certified physician and addiction medicine specialist, Dr. Drew Pinsky. You're listening to The Adam and Dr. Drew Show.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Get it on. Got to get it on. I chose to get it on. Man, to get it on. I'm Adam Carolla. That's Dr. Drew. I want to thank you guys in advance for making this such a popular show. There's Drew's phone buzzing away. Of course. We're a whole 4 seconds into the goddamn show. Hey, if you want to support us, you can subscribe via PayPal. Just hit the PayPal button and, $5 a month. Like I said, it's good juju. Also, Adam and drdrewshow.com is the link. You can pre-order my book, President Me, everybody.
When's that coming out?
That's coming out in a couple of months, and you can go to Amazon and go through the link there and pre-order it, and we'll come out again. Can you believe me? I'll have 3 books on the New York Times bestseller list. Take that, Mr. Dillaberde. Failed me from biology, North Hollywood High.
I have enough money to continue to say, fuck me.
Fuck me. Not fuck you money. Fuck me money. Joe Sorge is here. Joe is a director of a Divorce Corp, and it's a documentary that Dr. Drew spoke about, and I had very strong feelings about it. I thought it was a great topic, and Joe is director, creator, documentarian. This is all you?
Not all me, no, but it was my idea.
All right, and you directed.
Yeah.
That's all you.
One of the reasons I asked Joe to come in here is I thought you would really enjoy talking to him, Adam. Not just because, for a ton of reasons. As you start talking to him, I think you'll start to understand what I'm saying. Joe, tell me a little bit about your training and history, your background.
Well, originally I started out as a doctor. I got an MD degree and didn't practice medicine, though. I went into the laboratory and learned.
Don't be so humble. He was a Harvard-trained physician, became a surgeon.
Wow.
Yeah, he's the real deal.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
Then I went to the laboratory and learned molecular biology. And I was an assistant professor for a while in molecular biology and then started a company, a biotechnology company, and ran that for 25 years.
And then you got divorced.
Hold on. You had fuck me money to begin with.
So you made a very nice living with the company that you'd created.
I did, yeah.
And so what... have you made other documentaries?
No, this is my first. We've made some reality TV shows, but this is the first documentary.
There's Divorce Island. There's Divorce Me in Less Than a Minute. There's Divorce Go Round. And there's one called...
Divorce Go Round was my favorite.
Divorce Tent. Where he took a bunch of divorcees, put them under one tent, fought it out. Only one could be the winner. So what motivated you to do this Divorce Corp?
Well, I did go through the process, and actually things worked out pretty well for me. But, when you're in a public courtroom, you're waiting for the judge to call your case, and so you hear a number of other cases happening right in front of you. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The way the judges interacted with the lawyers suggested that there was some at least camaraderie there, if not more.
Chumminess. Yeah.
Chumminess. The way that the judge addressed the litigants with complete disrespect was horrible. And, the outcomes that I saw were tragic. And so it sparked an idea to create a documentary. And so we began to do some research, and the research proved out my suspicions.
Which was?
That it's a $50 billion a year industry that's basically motivated by the money. And it's supposed to be a public service, but in actuality, it takes advantage of the fact that our laws make divorce so complex that you need to have high hourly rate attorneys to help you. And they slow the process down. The judges slow the process down. It takes forever, and it ends up costing a fortune. And in the process, you lose your home. You can go bankrupt. You can lose your children. There are all kinds of terrible outcomes that we've witnessed.
What percentage And Drew narrates, by the way, is involved with the documentary. And I think it's a great idea because I have thoughts. My thought is the lawyers, the judges, and whoever the politicians, they're just slowly just taking over this country. And every single thing that they do is under the guise of, oh, let's protect the kids, or we're not going to let women get cheated out of, or this isn't, this is 2014. This is not 1911. These women are left in, historically, whatever. It's mostly all bullshit to line their pockets. And what they do is they turn everything into a bunch of red tape. Everything is a dirge. It's just dragged out. Meanwhile, money. And the lawyers aren't doing battle with each other. They're just doing battle with your checkbook. They're each other's best friend. They need each other to exist.
And the judges are in this colluded system as well.
Yes, and
judges they can make campaign contributions to the judge and then appear before him the next day. And they can hire the judge to come speak at their conferences and hire them to their law firms when they retire.
And the attorneys and the trial attorneys and their lobbyists and so on and so forth. It reminds me a little of the tax code, which is would be a much better place if we just simplified it and made it accessible. But the fact that, first off, I don't think the government likes us not understanding it. They like us all to all be lay people. They want us to be lay people for everything. So we never ask questions, so we can never do it ourselves. So we have to get tax attorneys and divorce attorneys, and hire a whole, and then it's a pyramid that just keeps going down to stenographers and court this and court that and secretaries and filing clerks. You're keeping 1 million people employed by this one act. It's the same, again, with the federal tax system as well. So, yes, I know it's a bullshit ruse, but go on.
Adam, I'm going to go get lunch early because you got it. I don't need to tell you anymore.
And there's no way, just like the tax system, you can't get the fucking bell unrung or the horse back into the barn, because guess who's in charge of making those changes? The people that are getting rich.
Yeah.
They're not going to undo this. It would take just a crazed millionaire, politician who needed nothing to spearhead this. Other than that, they're all in collusion with one another.
Well, the general public wants change. I mean,
of course.
Yes, the general public wants change. And so, one of the things I'm hoping to do is organize a conference after the dust settles with this film and invite legislators, activists on all different sides of this story, clergy, maybe someone from Scandinavia to talk about how their system works there and talk about productive, realistic change.
How does their system work?
Their system there is amazing. When we went there, we called it Planet Sanity after we interviewed just a few people. They don't use lawyers to get divorced. They don't use courts. You just fill out a form, send it into the government, and if you're not reconciled with your spouse within 6 months, you're divorced. That's it. It costs you a postage stamp, nothing more. Child support is a fixed amount for every child in the country, and so there's no fight over what percentage of time you get. Do you get 20% time or 50% time or 80% time? In the United States, that influences the financial outcome of how much child support is paid or collected. In Scandinavia, since the percentage of custody time doesn't influence the amount of money that goes back and forth, there's no fight over it. Moreover, the amount of child support is a fixed amount for every child in the country, and it's a modest amount, enough to take care of the necessities of that child. It's not a windfall for someone who happened to collect child support from a very wealthy individual, and it's not zero from someone who is trying to get child support out of someone who has no money at all. It's a fixed amount, not enough to go to court to fight over it, so they don't go to court. You do not see Scandinavians in court for either child support, child custody, or divorce.
Well, it's clearly they're better than we are, but Drew's heard me scream about this a million times, a life you've grown accustomed to that needs to be supported in perpetuity. What guarantees do any of us have for this life we've grown accustomed to? I used to have 3 TV shows on the air, and I don't have any anymore. I've grown accustomed to the paycheck that I got from having my 3 TV shows, but guess what? That's not how life works. I agree. There should be an amount, whether it's J-Lo's kid or Jenny from down the block. It's a J-Lo reference. Oh. The point is this. Why is your kid worth more? And yeah, they're used to They're used to traveling on private jets. Fine, but we have to set a standard. And if Southwest Airlines is the standard, then that's good enough for everyone, regardless of what you have. I don't. It's insane that we approach it that way. You're like, this guy makes X amount or she makes X amount, thus you get that.
Well, and the kids are really, I don't know if you saw the article that I brought up on Ashley Banfield yesterday, but there was a woman, maybe you were involved in writing that article, but she was saying the kids are used like the rabbit in a greyhound race.
Right.
And everyone's got to run after it, try to catch it. And that's what keeps the race going. You and I were talking a couple of weeks ago about how, you could certainly agree with your wife. All right, you and I will settle this. But you said one of her Yenta friends could go, hey, this is complicated. You need an attorney. And that's it. It's game on then.
I think I'd say 50% of marriages or divorce or pending divorces and or other things that involve attorneys start off with, we're fair-minded people, let's just take care of this. And then they go out to lunch with the cunts and they start bending their ears and they start explaining you're going to get screwed and blah, blah, blah.
It's
and
complicated.
Then it always works this way. Just give this guy a call. No obligation. He's an expert. Just let him. If you don't want to use him, don't use him. You owe it to yourself and your family. I love that.
Kids.
And the kids. You owe it to yourself just to simply call him, talk to him for 10 minutes. And next thing you know, you're coming in for a meeting. And next thing you know, you're sitting down. It's a bunch of worst case scenarios get laid out. You're left in the cold. Blah, blah, blah. Lawyer up. Now you got a lawyer. Mm-hmm. Now you got two lawyers getting rich.
And the problem is the adversarial system, which is how we practice family law in the United States, encourages you to not only advocate for your own position, but to disparage the other side. You're trying to convince the judge that you're a good person and the other side is not. And what does that do? It creates animosity that may not have been there between the couple, but it escalates. And then there's a war going back and forth.
Sure. And as far as the kids, you want to talk about fucking up the kids.
It's awful.
Drag them through this process. I'm going to ask you something that's a little off the beaten path. Well, no, it's not. It's on the same topic of divorce, but it's approaching it from a socio-whatever humanistic way and a little less little off the topic. But I've had these discussions with friends of mine that the notion, Drew, you're pussy whipped, so you may just agree in spirit with this, but you may not actually be able to verbalize it because you're physically pussy whipped.
I'll sit quietly.
Joe may have some thoughts about this being a man of science. I think when we told women, I'm not a big fan of like affirmative action. I don't think it helps the group you're trying to help. I think the intention is there, but it ends up hurting that group. It's sort of lowering the standard for test scores or whatever it is. I don't think it helps. When you take women and you go, look, you're going to get half of this guy's shit in perpetuity, whether you cook him breakfast or not, whether you put out in the bedroom or not, whether you do whatever. Look, you can start fucking one of his friends. It doesn't matter. If it ends, you're the one who's going to you'll stay in the mansion. He'll move into the apartment and you'll be fine. I think that women, once this started becoming pervasive, stopped doing as much as they used to do. There used to be an element of, hey, it's my job to cook this guy breakfast because he goes to work, and if he leaves me because I ain't cooking him breakfast or doing whatever it is I'm supposed to be doing, I'm going to be left out in the cold here, and I don't want that. It's a symbiotic relationship, meaning I got work to do, he's got work to do. Now it's turned into a little bit, hey, go out and do your work. Maybe I'll do my work, maybe I won't. You want to divorce me? Fine, you can move out. It's slowed women down. I really do think the motivation for them to keep up their side, their end. Now, for women who work, not as big a factor. The guy who has to bring home the bacon is always in that mode and has been in that mode. The women with the rattling of the pots and pans tapering off as the years wear on, and lots of constant lunch saying, you don't have to do this. You don't have to iron. You don't have to cook. You don't have to whatever. It used to be that element of, hey, guy with the full belly's a happy guy. Keep your man happy, whatever that was. You don't have to keep anyone happy. I mean, how do federal employees work? How's their attitude? How's the guy who can't get fired? Mm-hmm. By the way, it's basically, I work for the federal. You can't fire me, and if you do, I'll sue you for wrongful termination or discrimination or whatever it is. What is their attitude like at the workplace versus the guy who feels like he has to hustle to make his end?
Adam, I agree with, in principle, what you're saying. And, same thing with tenured professors.
So does Drew.
They can't get fired. However, I just want to qualify that, there are more women in the workplace today than there ever have been. In fact, it's 50-50. Women's salaries are getting close to men's salaries, and women are becoming, more integrated in our society in ways that they hadn't been in the past. And so there are many women out there who are actually now experiencing the unfairness of the system.
Good. That's what'll change it. Look, no one feels sorry for Rich Whitey. I mean, that's number one. When they say, oh, man, so-and-so, mega producer, so-and-so had to give away half of his $100 million fortune to his, 31-year-old second wife, what do people do? Oh, so cry me a river. He's got to get by on $50 million. So what, Nobody feels sorry for that dude. When women start getting cleaned out, when women start getting fucked up, voices will be heard for change.
I think it's actually, and I agree with you, but I also think that, it's very difficult to get political change when you only have 50% or less of the population in favor of something. But now that women are experiencing the unfairness of the system, you're getting women to also want change. And so I think this is a unique opportunity where we can get men and women together on the same platform saying we both want change. It's occurring slowly, but I think we're going to be there in the next few years.
The other thing about the family courts is that you relinquish a lot of your usual constitutional privilege. They're not courtroom. They're not courts of law. They're not.
Interesting.
Which is weird. You can't have a speedy trial. You can't have an attorney. They can force you to sell your house to pay your bills if you want. They can do anything they want.
Well, speaking of that, Joe, on average, and I'm sure you've studied this, but I don't know if you have it at on your fingertips and tip of your tongue. The average divorce is sort of what percentage goes to the lawyers. I've had conversations with guys who are pretty well off saying, I ended up paying the fucking lawyers more than I ended up paying my wife, and if she'd just taken my original offer, she would have had more than what we'd ended up getting, and the lawyers were the ones who got the lion's share of the money.
How often is that story the case?
Well, it's more of a percentage thing. Like, I guess what I'm saying is if, let's just say, Drew and his wife were going to get divorced, and after a very unpleasant physical alteration where she just beat the shit out of him with a rolling pin, and not the wooden kind, but the marble ones, super brutal, super heavy one.
Yeah.
The one bullet I've dodged with Lynette is no rolling pin, so she'll have to hit me with something else. She'll get the nanny to hit me with the skill. Either way, let's just say they're getting divorced, and let's just say there's $1 million worth of money, assets, property, whatever, to whack up, and the lawyers got involved. What percentage of that $1 million, on sort of average, would be left to whack up? Are
there kids or no kids?
There's kids, and there's $1 million, and I guess people think, well, you get $500 and I get $500, but now there's a lawyer.
Can I exceed 100% in my answer?
Really?
Well, actually, they'll take all the money if you let them, and then they'll ask you to go into debt, mortgage your house, take out a loan from your parents, something like that.
Right.
Is that insane?
So the money, the assets, the home,
is of no
the whatever, the camper, whatever it is that you were going to whack up, that all just gets eaten up by the lawyer.
I mean, the average divorce, uncontested divorce, costs $15,000 to $25,000. But the average American doesn't have that much money saved up. I mean, most people are living from paycheck to paycheck, so that amount of money is ridiculously expensive. I mean, if you are completely broke...
That's an uncontested divorce,
That's an uncontested divorce. A contested divorce is $50,000 to $75,000.
Tell us the difference.
An uncontested divorce is you both get lawyers, you work out the paperwork, and then you negotiate an agreement. Maybe you have a mediator, and then you sign an agreement, and you go in with your lawyers to the judge and say, Judge, please approve this. And if you have lawyers, the judge pretty much rubber stamps it.
Right.
If you do it on your own, the judge will scrutinize it, and sometimes he'll say, no, I don't approve of this divorce. I don't like the way you work this out. Go out and either get lawyers
Hire
or read
some
a book.
of my buddies.
Yeah, exactly. A contested divorce is where one party or the other doesn't settle. They don't like the negotiation doesn't succeed, and so it works its way to trial. And in that situation, it could cost $50,000, $100,000, or in some cases where people have a lot of money, it could be $10 million. I've heard that the McCourt divorce was $30 million in legal fees. It's crazy,
right.
And that's not relevant to the average person. But to the average person, do you know that divorce is the third most common cause of bankruptcy in the United States?
Wow.
Yeah, and it's the problem is once you get into the system, you get sucked in, and you
Sure.
can't get out. You're not in control.
When you say they don't like the negotiation, why is that such a contested process? It's 50%. You take, and
I have a good answer to it. So let's say you have $25,000, $50,000 in saved assets. Okay. And let's say you have children, and the child support's going to be $75,000 a year for the next 15 years. Well, that's $1 million of cash flow over the next 15 years versus $50,000 of assets that you're going to divide up $25,000 each. You can either say, okay, I'm fine, I'll take $25,000 and I don't need child support, and you end up with $25,000, or you could spend that $25,000 on an attorney or more, and you may end up with $1 million cash stream going for the next 15 years. So there's an incentive to fight.
But they're not fighting over the existing assets. They're fighting over the alimony and the child support.
That's correct.
I see.
I just, as somebody who is, just garden variety genius. I didn't go to Harvard like you, but I know everything because I know nothing. As I said, Drew, my mind is not polluted with other people's ideas.
But you also always know what everyone's thinking. No, I always know what everyone's talking about. That was your latest quote. I always know what everyone's talking about.
Oh, yes, yeah, I do. Yeah. No, I know what they mean when somebody tries to explain. No, he wasn't talking about next week. He was talking about what we're going to do.
Yes.
And I always go, yes, I know. I always know what everyone's talking about. No, I've always said I don't get legally, it doesn't make a lick. The law is supposed to be based in fairness, so to speak.
Sure.
No, but it's supposed to be. Meaning, if my car's parked in the parking lot at the supermarket and you back into my car and my car's not started, well, the law would favor me. Meaning, the law favors in a car accident, if you stop short, whoever rear ends you, it's on them.
Yeah.
Why is it on them? Well, they were either following too closely or they weren't paying attention. But either way, you get rear-ended, the law favors you, not the guy who rear-ended you.
Yeah.
All right, it's based in something that makes sense. If you're a rich producer and you marry someone who's 30 years younger than you are, and she is taking classes at the local junior college and has $18 to her name, and you guys, stay married for a few years, and then she wants millions and millions of dollars, even though she did nothing. She didn't create the show. She didn't put you through law school or whatever it was. And I understand perfectly the ones where she worked extra shifts as a waitress back when you guys were in college, so you could study for your bar exam or whatever. That I understand. Mm-hmm. Makes perfect sense. Mm-hmm. But then there's another scenario where clearly the person had nothing to do with the raising of the money. Why isn't that just factored in like it would be factored into a car accident?
Let me give you an answer to that. We're going to peel the onion a little bit here.
All right.
First of all, think about this. Alimony and child support can be used to pay legal fees.
What?
There's
child support can?
Yes. They do.
Wow.
It's not audited. There's no accountability. So think about what that means, that you can hire an attorney to get you more child support, and then you can use that child support to pay the attorney. So the attorneys are prone to take...
But here, just the part that kills me, Joe, it seems to me there's so many simple tweaks to this system that would have massive impact. Like, you can't the attorneys that appear before the judge can't contribute to their campaigns. Judges can't work for the attorneys that are working in their courtroom. here's a perfect thing where we have to audit expenses other than on the children or something. Some way you make it illegal to pay your illegal fees with child support. Those three things.
Who's going to honcho those ideas, though, Drew?
Honcho?
Who is the one who is the attorney, politician, judge with political aspirations, attorney with political aspirations? Who's going to raise their hand at that fucking lunch over at Arnie Morton's and go, hey, I got an idea, rich white fellas. How about we make some change so that we can be less rich?
Yeah.
These are the people that are in charge of the change.
Yeah.
You think they're ever going to raise their fucking hand? And you think Fidel Castro's going to go, hey, how about we ease up on the murals of me around town? How about we back off on those?
Adam, let me tell you, though, I think there's so many people that want change in the system now, that the system is so antiquated that I think the politicians will listen, but we have to demonstrate that there's a groundswell of desire for reform. And that's why instead of me, suing someone or taking this to court or the legislature, I decided to make a movie to show that there was problems in the system. And once you can raise awareness, I don't know if the movie's going to raise enough awareness. I appreciate you having me on the show here and trying to get people into the theaters.
The theaters January 10th, and Gary and Chris will post where the theaters are.
More information at drdrew.com.
Okay, thank you.
I think in divorcecorp.com is where you go. Well, first off, the good news is you're dealing with a huge segment of our society, which is nice. Because
40 million people have been divorced.
When you're doing something about the indigenous tribesmen of Uganda,
then you win a film festival award.
You win film festival, but no one goes, hey, my grandfather was an indigenous tribesman, and so I know where this guy's coming from. You don't get that. So this is at least has a broad appeal, and it should start a dialogue and a conversation. I hope.
I hope so. I see this as a larger umbrella of tort reform generally. I got to say, but at least this one shines a nice bright light on an absurd situation.
Let me throw one more out for you to think about, because you were talking earlier. Why would the system support this disparity in people's contributions to the marriage and all that? The system wants there to be a provider-dependent relationship because, as I said earlier, then they can justify creating support payments, and then the lawyers can take a piece of those support payments because they're unaudited. But the other thing that's really interesting is the federal government under Title 4D gives matching funds to the state for every dollar of child support that they collect.
Wow.
So the more child support, and some states alimony as well. So the more dependent support payments that the states order and then collect, they get matching funds from the federal government for that. And what that does is it encourages the states to up the amount of child support and alimony ordered. Over the last 20 years, those have grown faster than inflation. Even though the marriage rate's going down, the divorce rate's going down, women are reaching parity in incomes.
I know, it's
to men. Women are 50-50 in the workforce. And so all of these things, these sociological factors, should be causing the amount of dependent support to be going down. In fact, it's going up faster than inflation. So you ask yourself, why is that happening? Well, the attorneys can get a piece of it because their legal fees can be paid with these support payments, and then the federal government matches the amount the states collect.
What was the intent of those matching funds?
Because they're only about 60% of child support is actually collected, and there's this whole deadbeat parent thing. Mm-hmm. About parents weren't motivated. So what the federal government wanted to do is they wanted to give the states the resources to go out and collect that other child support. And so, and that's a good thing. I mean, there should be child support.
Now, look, they all start off with sort of noble intentions, and you see the same thing with the school system, which is, well, we'll pay you for every kid who's in class or who passes this test, but we're not going to, all right, we're going to give you incentive. But what do? They coach the kids up. They give them the answers to the test. Next thing you know, we're just warehousing kids and pushing them through. We've provided the answers for them because we get paid every time we get a correct answer on this test.
Yeah.
It fucks things up.
Yeah.
It starts off as, hey, this is a good thing.
That's
and then
bureaucracies are shit.
Yeah. It's why when you start going, hey, it's basically this, and this is why I get the big bucks. I'll give you, a buck for every window you repair on this street. You go, okay, that's a good way to clean up the street. Well, eventually I start figuring out if I started breaking these windows, I could make more money. And then there's a bunch of people chucking rocks. Yeah. That's kind of whatever. But starts off as, hey, we'd like to get the street cleaned up. Then it turns into me busting windows and taking your money.
Yeah, law of unexpected consequences, and that's what happens.
All the time.
Exactly. And so we have the federal government wanting to do a good thing, but the states, and I'm not saying that there was some committee that sat around and said, hey, we can abuse this federal money. It just incentivizes them to issue higher child support awards and then to be more aggressive about collecting it. And there's a whole, there's debtor's prison in the United States.
I did not know that.
It's not a federal law outlawed debtor's prison, but the states can still do it. And so there's debtor's prison for not paying child support. And what do they do when someone is not as behind on their child support? Brilliant. They take away their driver's license so they can't drive to work. And then they put them in jail so that they can't work.
Right. So they can't earn to pay.
Yeah.
Right.
And so you get this vicious cycle of these people who are in jail because they can't pay their child support all the time. There's interest being applied to that amount. There are fines for not paying child support. And so these people get into this endless spiral that they can't get out of.
Well, my thing for catching deadbeat dads, which is we just
Go to Florida.
No, we just every for here we'll do the Coliseum, but wherever the big venue is in your neck of the woods, it's a sporting venue. It's free cockfights for Raider fans, and then everyone that comes in there we just arrest. That's all we do.
And do what? Put them in jail?
We'll round them up.
Round them up.
Under my
Flog
regime.
'em. Oh, your regime. That's right.
They can't, and we'll have it at noon on Wednesday. So anyone who's showing up there is a troublemaker. You know what I'm saying?
I bet in your regime we would have the capacity to do the same thing you do at the post office
Sleep with
at
your
home.
door open.
Post office at home.
Oh, under my regime, we wouldn't have the post office. We just have stamps.com.
Stamps.com, that's right. Everyone, New Year's resolution, you can maximize every minute, every dollar for your small business and for your home, for God's sakes. Stamps.com. Don't waste time at the post office. Don't waste money leasing those old-fashioned postage meters. Use your own computer. You buy and print U.S. official postage for any letter. Anything you can do at the post office, you can do now at home. Here's our official special offer, a no-risk trial, $110 bonus, including a digital scale, $55 free postage if you enter the code ADS. Go to Stamps.com. Before you do anything else, though, click the microphone at the top of the homepage, type in ADS. That is Stamps.com, promo code ADS.
All right, we got a couple of phone calls.
Start with line one. He's been on a hold for a while, I think.
All right, line one. Let's talk to Alex, 28, Los Angeles. Alex?
Get it on, Dr. Drew, Adam Carolla. Get it on.
Get it on.
Can't wait to see your documentary.
Yeah, it really sounds great.
Thank you.
Where is it in L.A.? What theaters?
Encino and Orange County as well.
You should have done it like my parents. Just, I'm out of here.
Did they ever get divorced?
My dad just, my parents left. They just left. They had no assets. They didn't have furniture to divide up. My dad got his VW Bug.
Kids.
They had kids. My dad had gotten his VW. They weren't going to fight over who got to hang out more with the kids, though.
Right, of course.
So my dad got his trumpet, his flugelhorn, put it in the back of his VW Bug, and he drove over to my mother's parents' house in North Hollywood and slept on their sofa for 4 months, and then eventually got an apartment in North Hollywood.
Did they ever get divorced?
They never got divorced.
That's what I thought.
They never. Well, they never would have gotten divorced. They had no reason. There was literally, when Joe leaves, we will not need a divorce, and there'd be no reason for us to get divorced in the future because I don't have anything, you don't have. I don't own anything you own. You don't own anything I own. You're going to get in your car and you're going to leave, and that's how it. That's about what it was. And as far as, Max Zapata over here, well, I agreed with Joe that you could see him 3 days a week, and I'd see him 4 days a week, and we'd flip-flop or whatever, there's no big deal.
I work with that.
And that was that. They later got remarried, a decade later, and when they got remarried, they had to get divorced to get remarried, otherwise they'd be polygamous. But other than that, I don't think my parents, 40 years on, would be divorced. They literally just got up and left. They would have been great Scandinavians. Alex, sorry. Oh, wait. Alex, sorry.
Here we go.
So basically, I have a job that I'm really good at. I'm a bartender. I've been nominated for the James Beard Award twice, and I can't really stand it sometimes.
But hold on, you've been nominated for the coveted Jimmy B Award twice.
Yes.
Wow.
My bar program.
Jimmy B, I get emotional when I talk about it. He's claimed, during that horrible Harvey Wallbanger incident in 79. I mean, obviously he was in a coma for a number of months, and then, anyway. The point is this: that award is not handed out to just some guy hops behind the counter at Chili's. I'll tell you that right now. The Jimmy B, that's for the Golden Swizzle Stick. It's not just handed out to some newbie who got himself a gig at a claim jumper. You know what I mean? Who the fuck is that, Alex?
I don't know.
Nobody knows who that is. Okay.
Yeah.
But there's an award for bartenders.
That's a huge award in the culinary world.
That is the one fucking banquet I'd like to host. Everyone just fucking shit-faced. Be awesome. Doing keg stands.
So, Alex, you don't like your job?
Oh.
I don't like my job. Yeah. It doesn't pay great, unfortunately, and it's taking away a lot of time from what I want to be doing with my spare time.
Which is?
Another reason. Writing and acting. That's why I moved to Los Angeles. And I got into bartending because I've only worked in restaurants my whole life. Just kind of fell into it, and I just happened to be really good at it. And I'm not getting a...
Is it like that movie... Hold on. Is it like that movie Cocktail with Tom Cruise?
It's we do we do poems every night in the middle of a huge bar. Everyone just quiets down.
Do what every night?
Poems.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's from the movie Cocktail.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. You gotta watch Cocktail.
Anyway, no, it's kind of, but not really.
Okay.
But we make those fancy drinks.
So it's really not the bartending so much as that things aren't going well in the other areas you'd like it to be going.
Exactly, and I feel that a lot of my focus is being shifted from...
Oh, fuck focus. What the fuck?
No, but his point is...
Focus. You're putting fucking olives in a glass. That takes a lot of concentration.
Time, Adam.
Focus.
His
fuck
time.
Focus and
so
time.
What would you do? So he's 8 hours a day bartending. He's
fucking right the rest of the time. Bartenders, you don't have we have to get up at 7 a.m. and be down at the fucking airport bar. What time's your shift start?
Today it's going to be from 4 till midnight.
All right, 4 to midnight. So you have from the time you wake up, which is 8, 9 in the morning, to till 3:30 when you have to go over there.
Or also do auditions and things, or go to classes.
Whatever. Yeah, if you're good, you'll be fine.
Okay.
All right. What do you want me to tell you? I don't buy any of this fucking time focused bullshit. The people I know that are successful are busy with 100 things at once. They never do that thing. It's like when a chick goes, I just don't have, it's like I talk to a guy, and it's like, why aren't you guys dating? She says she doesn't have time to date right now. She's focusing on her career. Okay, she's not into you.
No.
That means not into you. There's no chick who's attracted to anyone who goes, I don't have time to date. It's called fucking weekends. It's called evenings. You find time.
Yeah.
You find time to do what you want to do, and especially something as flexible as bartending.
Speaking of finding time, how did you go from general surgery to molecular biology? How did you make that shift?
Sorry. Go ahead.
I got out of an operation, and I was sitting in the...
Were you a resident then, or you were practicing?
Yeah, resident.
You're like a senior resident.
Yeah, I had the green uniform on
Senior
and all
resident.
that.
What was the operation?
Blood on my shirt.
What was the operation?
It was probably some kind of gallbladder operation. Yeah. I was hanging onto this retractor, for hours on it, and trying not to fall asleep because the big surgeon was doing all the action. Anyway, so I go to the library, and I just had an interest in, it's crazy, in DNA and genetics and all that. So I pick up a copy of Science magazine, and I'm reading about this newly discovered structure of DNA called introns and exons. And my senior resident happened to be in the library. He looks over my shoulder. He's from Texas. And he goes, boy, what are you reading? Mm-hmm. And I said, it's this really fascinating stuff about molecular biology and DNA structure and all that. He goes, you're in the wrong business. And I said, you're absolutely right. And so
Did you have a sinking feeling? Did you have a panic attack?
No, it was exciting. It was like liberating.
Dude, you just spent 8 years.
Like he gave me my freedom. He cut the chains. He said, go ahead.
8 years.
I know.
This is why the time thing. I think surgeons, they don't go home for weeks at a time. Talk about time commitments.
Yeah, but I say to people all the time, whether you're getting paid, whatever you're doing, everything's just an exercise to work your brain out. It's not a waste of time.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I understand what you're saying, but sometimes you go, well, shit, I got into this when I was 21 and now I'm 30. I better make the most of this. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to give up all those years and feel
you're not giving them up though. I mean, I know what you're saying, but you're not, because his brain was doing push-ups all those years, and now he's going to take that well-oiled machine and focus it on something else, and that was why he was probably able to be so successful so quickly in this alternate field.
Plus, I just had a passion for it. You know, they say make small decisions with your brain and big decisions with your heart, and try not to make too many decisions with any other part of your body.
I like that. All right, let's you got another call up there.
He's talking about the boner.
I got you, man. You got a call up there?
Let's go right down the line 3.
Let's talk to James, 34, St. Louis. James?
Hi. I've been dating my girlfriend for about 9 months, and she's on the NuvaRing, and so I thought I could ejaculate inside of her, but I found out that for about an hour afterwards.
NuvaRing?
Yeah,
the NuvaRing? Yeah, the new Nissan GTR turned it in 7 minutes, 21 seconds. It's faster than the Corvette, by the way. 6 seconds faster than the Corvette. And that's stock. That's on stock tires.
I love the GTR.
Mm-hmm. It's awesome car.
But unfortunately, I'm unable to go to not have a condom and have sex with her, because she says that it's that my semen or ejaculate stings her for about an hour afterwards.
So that's
is this real?
Yeah, no, that's real. It's from the hormones in the ring. She's got some sort.
So it's because of the ring. All right.
Well, it's a more common thing actually from the newer birth control pills. The very powerful progesterones cause a relative deficiency of estrogen in the lining of the vagina, and that causes some easy irritation and stuff. Women will call all the time and say, "Oh, I'm allergic to my partner's semen." No, it's not allergy. It's what's called an atrophic vaginitis. But the NuvaRing has a powerful estrogen in it as well, but it does seem to cause these kinds of irritation. So it is all likely probably related to the NuvaRing. Okay.
So is there? So the only suggestion is to switch birth controls.
Yeah, something else.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. And listen, I did a couple podcasts with Dr. Gary's already looking about with Dr. Andrew Goldstein, where we got into great detail about how this all works and how long it takes to get better and what the options are for treatment. And in a second, Gary's going to post what those episodes are.
Goldstein? Jewish doctor?
Shocking, huh? 7, 12, and 39 episodes. DrDrew.com, the Dr. Drew podcast, episodes 7, 12, and 39. We're saying 39 was a pretty good review of all this stuff. So
I like 12 better.
Yeah, did you?
But that's just me.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk to Jen from Massachusetts, 22. Jen?
Yes. Hi.
What's going on?
So I've had some addiction issues and stuff, and it kind of just switches over. First it was drugs and alcohol, and now sex. And it feels like I kind of I'll not get over one, but I'll kind of transition into another one.
But
I haven't really had any.
Hold on. Are you on a speakerphone or anything right now?
No.
No. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Well, that's how addiction. That's how real addiction works. People it was called cross addiction, where people move from one substance or one behavior to the other.
Drew, what do they know about, and Joe, what do they know about the toe tappers? I always call them just I know the guys, the addicts. You know, they're just foot shaking,
like
toe
Tom Arnold.
tapping, just sort of
my
friend
test.
Chris that way, just foot tapping all the time,
Yeah.
and so they give up drugs at some point, and then you see him smoke a cigar like it's a guy smoking his last cigarette. I mean, he's like puffing on that thing and foot tapping and moving again, First thing they do is they drink way too much coffee and smoke way too much, which ends up speeding them up more than they need to. But they're people that are just the Labradors of life. My wife, Lynette, she have a glass of wine, she'll get about halfway down it, set it aside, go to bed.
You'll down it.
Oh, I'll shoot it down.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is she'll have a glass of wine, set it aside.
Yeah.
She'll have a smoothie and just says, I'll be sucking on the bottom of it, putting water and heating it up so I can get every last vapor out of it and everything like that.
Yeah.
Just I had half a steak, that's enough.
Yeah.
And just go to bed.
Yeah.
And just that's their cadence in life. There's really nothing you can get them to do. You couldn't get them to be addicted to something. You could strap them down Clockwork Orange, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then there's the toe tappers, where it's like, all right, so they give up this, and then they pick up
I know what you're talking about. I don't know that there's a way to really categorize that with great accuracy, except to say that ADHD is a risk factor for addiction for sure. And so I think a lot of these guys have ADD, ADHD stuff, and they're spinning all the time. There's an anxiety disorder associated with addiction too, and some of it may be that.
In layman's terms, it's uncomfortable in their own skin. Mm-hmm. They're shifting. They don't seem relaxed.
Could be trauma stuff, PTSD.
Yeah,
these are all risk factors for addiction. So
right.
They may be different things, maybe one thing.
All right, Jen.
Yeah.
So what do you want to do about it?
I don't know. I tried therapy for a little bit, but I always felt like after the session or whatever, I would immediately want to use, or I would.
Right, and this is not something that is treated with therapy per se by itself. I mean, you need some kind of 12-step treatment. You need, addiction. I think I was talking to Mike Cather when I was talking about how to really treat addiction properly, you have to have somebody there present with you for 6 to 12 months, a person with you all the time, somebody who understands exactly what you're going through, what you're thinking, what your impulses are, and what you need to do with them. And ideally, a therapist or a doctor would sit there with you for 6 months, but that's not going to happen. So we have these self-help organizations instead of that, who are people who are committed to doing for you what somebody did for them, which is basically sitting on you during that time and being present and available and processing this with you in a way that helps you change and ultimately treat this thing. But therapy alone will not do it.
Our last call, coming from Chicago, somebody sent me this. This is another one of those things that we always talk about where everyone's a scientist and everyone's a global biologist and a global this and a molecular that. And I'm sorry, but there's nothing really replaces just sort of good old common sense for things. I say it all the time. Look, there's 200 million books written on diets. Diet is basically exercise and restrict what you're putting in. You're basically. I was writing about it in my new book, by the way, President Me.
Uh-huh.
But it's a simple thing, and I came up with this, Drew. I don't know if I've come up with this one before, but you tell me what you think, and Joe, you chime in as well. Your body is sort of like a hot air balloon. And if you're going to dump in a bunch of stuff into the gondola, cheeseburgers and fries and whatnot, you better be pumping a lot of heat to keep that balloon. You want that equilibrium.
That's reasonable.
You want it to stay 100 feet above the ground. You don't want it to go up into the stratosphere, and you don't want it to come crashing down into the power lines. You want that sort of thing. So if you're Michael Phelps, you can go ahead and dump as many calories as you want into your gondola because all you're doing is shoveling coal and burning that fire all the time. But if you're not going to shovel that coal and burn that fire, then the stuff you put in the gondola has not only got to be a little less, but it's got to be a little lighter. The celery and the kale doesn't weigh as much as the pork chops and the banana. Dude, but it's literally that metaphor will sort of let go. Like I said, feel free to eat as much as you want, but feel free to spend 2 hours at the gym every day or take it easy and limit whatever you're doing. It's pretty straightforward stuff. And somebody sent me a link to, I don't know, it was a high school, tweeted me a link, interesting story. It was a high school, I don't know, it was a biology. He was a high school biology teacher or whatever he was, but he did the supersize me. He did the I'm going to eat nothing but McDonald's for 90 days and I'm going to monitor my everything. And he lost 30 pounds. And his levels were all up. He didn't eat, he ate, he monitored his caloric intake.
Right.
So he would eat a Big Mac, but he would also eat a salad.
Yes.
But he would also have a sundae.
Right.
But not every time.
Right.
Whatever
it was the calories that was really the issue.
Yes. Yeah. He said, I will take 2,000 calories a day or whatever it was, which did include a Big Mac, but also included a salad and a fruit bowl as well. And he worked it all out. And at the end of 90 days, and he walked, too. I think he moved around a little. And at the end of 90 days, he ate nothing but McDonald's. And he didn't, like I said, he didn't shy away from the Big Mac or the Quarter Pounder, but he didn't eat it every time. And he lost 30 pounds. And isn't that all we need to know?
Yep.
wise, everything. I lost 37 pounds in 3 months, according to what I got.
Speaking back to the molecular biology stuff, Joe, what was it your company did?
Well, we supplied tools to other molecular biologists in pharmaceutical companies and university laboratories to do genetic research.
How did that factor into your interest in all the what was it you were looking at, the original articles that sent you on your
DNA
path?
with introns and exons. Basically, what's the human genetic code? What's the blueprint that makes us? That fascinated me.
Just the DNAs at all, just how DNA works.
Well, how DNA works, how what the code says, and how that builds a human being is just really amazing, and how we're all different based on tiny little changes in the code.
But you must have studied that in college. It didn't get you as much then?
But when I was in college 100 years ago, we didn't have the DNA code. In fact, we didn't get the DNA code until around the year 2000. So when I started my company, it was 1984. There were 15 years of working toward working out the genetic code and finding out exactly what the blueprint is.
Speaking of back in 2000, 2,000 calories and daily suggested levels of carbs, protein, cholesterol, all that stuff. So just whatever
but
they
all
say.
From McDonald's.
You should, but all from McDonald's.
Yeah.
Which, again, we talk about all the time. You don't have to have these places go out of business or outlaw them or do anything. It's just good common sense. You'll be fine. I don't understand what happened to the horse sense. We've decided...
We're not adults. We have to be taken care of, you see.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Speaking of good common sense, I'm going to be doing some live shows. Chicago, I'm doing a stand-up show in Detroit. We're doing
when are we going to go on the road?
Podcasting, quiet. Doing some Buffalo. You don't want to go to Buffalo. It's too cold
That's
there.
True.
Las Vegas, coming up with Joe Coy. You can go to AdamCarolla.com. You can find out when all the live shows, live podcasts and stand-up shows are going to come to a town near you. All right, what's it, line 5? Hey, caller. What's going on?
Hello, Adam.
What's going on? So you spawned my McDonald's conversation.
That was a fantastic build-up.
And strangely, his name is Jared.
Oh, yeah, ironically. Jared, 22, Chicago. Oh, so we'll see you at the Park West. Yeah. What's going on?
Yeah. Okay, so just graduated college, and as a graduation present went to Australia. But started running out of money pretty fast there because the food is super expensive. Talking like $17 for a crappy BLT.
Wow.
And no drink, super expensive. So anyway, we noticed that the McDonald's ice cream cones were 30 cents, and the dollar's pretty similar there. So we figured, we were wondering how long could you survive on just eating those McDonald's ice cream cones. We had a little debate over it, and
one way to find out. I got this argument with Jimmy Kimmel many years ago where he said, if you just drank water and ate churros for a year, you would die. And I said, no, you wouldn't. And he said, yeah, absolutely you would die. And we were arguing. We were in New York on a subway arguing about this once. And I said, first off, there's plenty of people on this planet that live on quite a bit less than clean water and a churro a day. And I don't think you'd be in great shape. I mean, you might have a headache, but I don't know. I don't know what your stool would feel like.
Though,
but I don't know that you'd die. And I said to you when I got back, would you die? And you said no at the time.
You get protein malnutrition, but you would be able to survive.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a happy year. Yeah. The first 6 months would be awesome. There's no doubt.
From a churro, there's not much protein in it, but there is in ice cream.
Yeah. Right. Well, there.
And I was thinking we was talking about ice cream. How much the various vitamins that could you become?
You'd need a multivitamin. I think, after a while.
Yeah.
Well. But you could survive on a churro.
You could pack those in your suitcase, 1,000 multivitamins and take them with you.
And 100 churros.
I like that. All righty then. Again, if you'd like to subscribe via the PayPal button, we surely would appreciate it. Helps us keep the lights on over here. And my book, President Me, out. You can get it, not quite yet, but you can pre-order it on Amazon. That's always nice. Joe Sorge, everybody. Divorce Corp in theaters. It is. You can go to the website, divorcecorp.com, and you can find out where it is around you. And Drew narrates, and I highly recommend it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you very much.
So, until next time, this is Adam Carolla for George Drew, Chris Max Pata, and Gary Haftard saying mahalo.
ParentalRights.us.